Hey folks, this is Walker, one of the two hosts of Idio Talk. This week, Zach and I sat down and discussed Radiohead's fifth studio album, Amnesiac, and it was another conversation that went a long time. It's a very dense period in the band's history, and we talked for almost 3 hours. So once again, we decided to break that up into 2 episodes. So this week, you're getting the first part of that conversation, and next week, you're getting part 2. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that so you get the next part of the episode. I think you're really going to enjoy it. That's it. Without further ado, enjoy Idio Talk. Try to show a little respect. Greetings, listen. Oh my God, there are dinosaurs living now. Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast with your hosts, the Glenn brothers. I am Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
Oh my God, it is great to be back. In listener time, it's just another. You're just like, hey, I came to my favorite podcast app on a Friday, as I do each Friday. Each Friday, you gather around the podcast app. Just like on Christmas morning, you gather around and you say, well, what did the brothers bring us today? What podcast gifts have they left in my phone stocking today? This is how I imagine our listeners. I
was trying to remember, what do the English call Father Christmas? Papa, what did Father Christmas bring us from the podcast app?
Yeah, exactly. And they gather around slavering for just like our grandfather was given an orange each Christmas. Now, okay, already a tangent. We were told that Papa, God bless him and we love him.
Papa,
our grandpa.
Oh, okay, huh?
That he was given an orange on Christmas and that was his present. I have heard this as an anecdote, and don't ask me where, don't ask me to cite my sources, Zach.
Okay.
But I have heard this, Depression era anecdote other places of people being given an orange for Christmas. You might see where I'm going. Was this a true thing?
I think it was a tradition because Christmas, and I think this is where what is the word for consumerism? But
commercial.
Well, yeah, but where it's direct.
This is going to be like when
paganism.
we couldn't think of the word benefit concert.
Exactly. No. How Christmas is like a pagan holiday. Because it, where it came from, and now.
I'm
it's
sorry.
all about...
What? Christmas, the birth of Jesus.
Yeah, it had to do with the cycles of equinox and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, young listeners, cover your ears. Zach is about to really pull the Jenga block out from under your belief system.
But it was like in Western society, I think that you'd give folks gifts like potpourri or I don't know, even like the Yule log or whatever. Like, think about how unfun that would be to get now.
I'm disgusted thinking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord. Like, I don't like to think of myself as that materialistic of a person, but honestly, if I come downstairs on Christmas morning and you're giving me an orange, something any fool could buy at the grocery store,
right,
for 60 cents.
Yeah.
I don't want to know you anymore.
Maybe a nickel back in the day too.
Yeah, what? Just give me the nickel.
I know. No shit.
Honestly, we
don't know the end of that story. Papa might have been like, "This is bullshit."
That's what I hope he was.
Yeah.
Honestly, because the end of all those stories about back in the day are always like, and we were thankful
totally
to get it. Well, honestly, the joke's on you if you were thankful to get an orange for Christmas.
Were they that poor that they couldn't pick fruit?
Zach just made a face at me, listeners. Like, maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't know if this is going to make the pod.
Well, no, that was it. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But.
No, but I mean, honestly, like, it's like you're telling me an orange can't just like fall off a tree.
No, I'm not telling you that.
Right. I guess I'm saying that the teller of this story. Now, Zach, also, I don't want it to be too long before we talk about Radiohead.
Yes.
But this is bringing to mind, and maybe this has come up on the podcast before, but this is bringing to mind to me another Papa-related anecdote that I know we have processed off pod.
Surfing USA?
Yeah,
okay.
Can you tell this one?
No, well, sure. Okay.
And that's why I'm questioning the orange anecdote now, is because I only reprocessed the one you're about to tell us. The result was like, this is patently ridiculous.
Well, I think,
and now I'm questioning everything.
No. I think the orange example is something. It's not an urban legend, but it's a ubiquitous legend that probably most people from that era would get fruit or something bullshit like that. I don't know that was unique to our grandfather.
It's pathetic, though, isn't it?
Yes,
that's the moral that I wanted. I want to end that on that. Is we laugh at your Christmas present of fruit yesteryear.
But what is like an urban legend that I think exists solely in our family, and when I say our, I mean my cousins as well.
Yeah, extended.
On our mother's side of the family, so same papa, same grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
When we were kids, and we would get in the old Astro van and go anywhere that involved getting on the freeway.
Might be a hot day, right?
Yeah, it'd be a hot day, and kids
hot in this van.
Kids love to stick their arms out the window,
get
treat
a breeze. Myself to a roll down of the window.
Maybe do some wave motions with it. Well, we were told as kids, and as were all of our cousins, never to stick your arm out the window, which at its core is good advice. You should be somewhat cognizant of it.
But not just don't stick it straight out. Like, don't even lay it out the window.
Like for some people, the floor is lava. For us, the air was lava. Because in Glenn family lore, we'll just say, Papa knew a customer at the restaurant.
It always was a customer.
It was always a customer.
Every cautionary tale was some unnamed vagabond who ate at the family restaurant.
Yeah, well, listeners, and also that grandpa, a very, very successful business owner, a first-generation immigrant. It's a really inspiring man.
He could buy all the oranges he wanted as an adult.
It did. He's the governor of Florida.
Yeah, he bought so much fruit as an adult because of this scarring Christmas. He bought so much fruit that he would intentionally let it rot.
I will never let this bullshit happen again. My children will get thousands of oranges. Anyways, so apparently the same grandfather knew a man who was carefree, sticking his arm out the window. Probably had his dog up in the front seat with him. And a car traveling in the opposite direction was towing a surfboard. Surfboard became loose at the exact moment leading up to their points of intersection and chopped this guy's arm off. Now, on the one hand, I just did a very...
As he had to say before every sentence for the rest of his life.
On the one hand, yes, I mean my one hand.
No, that's the name of this guy's stand-up comedy album, is On the One Hand.
Oh my gosh. So, it's taking a step back. That is something that could transpire. There's a podcast that I love. I feel like I just advertise other podcasts on our show.
It's a big tent.
There's a podcast that was actually my first foray into listening to podcasts called Stuff You Should Know. And they do have a very interesting episode about limb reattachments. And the first time, like most breakthroughs of that magnitude, it was between the 60s and the 80s. But a kid had jumped onto a moving train, and right before it went into the tunnel, he didn't tuck in his body enough, yada, yada. And so, events like this, of course, can happen, but it was just the brutality of what, don't stick your arm out the window because this horrific event,
right?
The most awful version of it.
I know there's so many, what is the word I'm searching for? There is so many plot holes in this story just based on what I know to be.
Yeah, and you're not a big plot hole guy, as you said.
No, I'm not. But as every every movie review ever left on the internet has said you can drive a semi truck through these plot holes.
Oh, okay.
Because first of all, how close was this other car coming in the opposite direction or traveling in on a 2-lane highway alongside in parallel? You're feet apart. Even in a really, really narrow road, you're still feet apart.
Hopefully, yeah.
So you're not so close that the surfboard that you're inches apart and the surfboard chops off your arm, first of all.
Sure.
You pointed out the one about that the surfboard became detached from the roof rack at the exact moment of
it would have to. I
intersection.
mean, this would be an amazing physics problem or like word problem. And I'm not saying I could solve it, listeners, but like think about it, or it's like a great kind of screenwriting tool, like in Benjamin Button. There's the moment where he takes through how Cate Blanchett's character, if one thing had been different, then she wouldn't have gotten hit by that car. Her ballet career wouldn't be over. Benjamin Button, really topical reference of a film. But
Zach's favorite film.
yeah, other movies do that too, like The Butterfly Effect, other Academy Award-winning films like The Butterfly Effect.
I'm also thinking that us dissecting this on the podcast, this is kind of our Giancarlo Esposito looking around the room after talking to Kaiser Sose.
Oh,
moment.
yeah.
Is it Giancarlo who looks around the room?
Is that Usual Suspects?
Yes.
I didn't
Usual
realize he was in
Suspects.
that movie.
He is in that movie, but he's a smaller part. Who is Kevin Spacey talking to? Kevin Spacey, R.I.P.
Giancarlo Esposito is who he's talking to.
Okay.
Because I can't remember. So-
Yeah, let's say whoever the cop is that Kevin Spacey's character is talking to, after he leaves, he then looks around the room and sees all the things that he
Yes.
that he pulled.
So like that, like Butterfly Effect, like a Benjamin Button, if one thing had been different, because you think the surfboard would have had to have become loose, at least 100 yards before they were about to intersect. It's getting loose. It would have to fall to one side to sever his arm, because it can't be like traveling parallel in, up off the ground to just like knife through his arm like hot butter, even though that's what it did apparently.
And also, Zach, as you're talking and we're comparing this to movies, I'm now seeing, first of all, we should write and shoot this, because this story is from a movie.
Yeah.
Not literally, but I just recently watched, for the first time, I just watched 4 of the 5 Final Destination films.
Oh, I like the first 2.
They're pretty fun. And the third one
is Devin saw one of those?
he's in the first one.
Okay.
And this now is, I'm picturing this, it's like one of the death scenes in the opening of each one of those movies, where we'd see this guy, as you said, driving along, arm out the window, getting a tan, summer day.
Dalmatian, probably
Dalmatian
on the front seat.
in the front seat.
F-150, 1977.
Whoa, listen to the music playing on the radio. You know what I'm saying? Like, just not a care in the world. Other car. God, oh man, I can't believe I've been away from my wife and kids hauling this load of surfboards for a
Knocking
week
back
straight.
bottles of whiskey as people do in movies.
Sure.
Which, I realize people can drink a lot, but it's usually just like, wow.
Taking caffeine pills because he's been hauling these surfboards for 3 days without a night's sleep.
Maybe even a Black Betty or two.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what drug that was, but
it sounds very 1960s.
Yeah, totally.
He's hopped up on goofballs.
Yes, totally.
And then as we see the semi-truck driver, maybe it's not a semi.
No,
The guy hauling the surfboards. In my mind, this is now a commercial operation where he's hauling multiple surfboards.
Yeah, I'll give you my notes after. So
Sure. He's coming down the other road, and we see miles ahead, we see one strap pops out. Right?
Yeah, it's getting louder.
It's getting louder. It's rattling. It's rattling. And then right at the moment.
And the guy with the surfboard yells at his dog, just further driving the point home that he's not a nice man. Charlie, shut up!
Right. And then he sees some pretty girls on the other side, and he sticks his arm out even further to wave at them at the exact moment, the surfboard. Now, here's another plot hole in this story. And I swear
but not in
to
a
God, we'll
catcalling
move
way,
off of-
right?
No, it isn't a catcalling way, because
okay.
now we're making him kind of deserving of his fate.
Oh, okay.
I thought, because you said he yells at his dog.
No, the guy with the surfboard yells his dog, further showing us that he is a bad man compared to our nice guy.
Oh, see, I thought the guy who gets his arm chopped off had the dog. Do
They both have dogs.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And both these dogs also
Yeah.
die in this
I
final.
totally ruined your flow.
That's okay. This is how stuff gets. This is how writers' rooms work.
Totally.
Is
totally.
we just pitch.
That's why
until we
listeners
get it.
came here to listen to a writer's room.
Yeah, to listen to us turn our grandfather's dubious anecdote into a Final Destination fan fiction.
Right.
Lila, stay. Listeners, we have multiple animals in this room. We have a cat walking through and a dog growling at that cat, but everybody stayed in their corner, and it seems all good. Zach, the last inconsistency about this story that I want to point out, do you feel that if everything went how we just laid it out, because we just found a way that it is theoretically plausible that this could happen if everything
Most
aligned.
urban legends are rooted in some real event.
Right, an alligator could live in a sewer.
Yes.
For example.
Yeah.
A man with a hook could kill somebody. Now, all that happens. I still think where this falls apart. I have never, and I haven't seen all surfboards, but I've seen a few in my 36 years on this planet. I have not seen one where one side of it is sharpened to a razor.
Right.
Because I think if a surfboard, that's like a rounded edge. I think if it falls off, hits you in the arm, I don't think that's going to sever your arm. I think the blunt trauma is going to maybe break your arm.
Yeah, but I mean, surfboards are so much longer and heavier, and they're typically like of some sort of fiberglass composite. And with enough, this goes back to my physics problem that I'll never solve.
Yeah.
But like, I think with enough momentum, and I don't know. I mean, I think that it could, and this was the 60s as we were talking about, or at the latest.
Yeah.
Papa was born in 1929. So, I mean, this could have happened in the 50s for all we know.
Yeah.
But I think that, it could have broken your arm such that, you need to have it amputated, which adds another layer of trauma to the story.
That's not what was told to
Yeah.
us, though. We were told it cut the man's arm off.
And it kind of was implied that like it was instantly cauterized, like it was one of those like red hot surfboards or something,
It was razor
the
sharp.
meteorite
It was
surfboard.
razor sharp and white hot. This surfboard, it went straight from the blacksmith shop to the truck.
Right, yeah. I said
Oh
that
my
there's some
God.
sort of fiberglass composite. Back in the day, surfboards were made out of anvils.
Oh my
That's why they didn't float.
Wow. I really wish that Mythbusters was still a show so that we could submit this to them of can a surfboard cut off your arm? That very popular myth.
Well, some of the ones they chose to debunk, I was like, no fucking shit. Like, of course. And then some of them are amazing. Like,
I don't know that I've ever seen an episode of Mythbusters, but I did see the guy who wears the beret walking around downtown Berkeley once.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
We were like, hey, big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, big fan.
Yeah.
Whew. Wow. Listeners, I hope that was as wild of a ride it is for you. I think what the moral of this is we are saying don't give your loved ones oranges for Christmas. Respect them more than that. Love them more than that. And when you're listening to this podcast, if it's in your car, if it's a little stuffy in that car, go ahead and roll down that window and stick your arm out. Let it hang to the side. We're telling you it's going to be okay.
Put it in self-driving autopilot mode. Our listeners own Teslas.
Yeah. It just, you know what? Just to be safe, if when you're driving, if you see a car carrying a surfboard near you, why not? Just be safe. Pop your arm back in the car for that, as long as it takes for the surfboard to get out of Dodge.
Yeah. Everything else, you're fine.
Everything else, you're fine. Keep it hanging out.
Speed
there.
up if you see a highway patrolman. Flip him the bird.
Yeah. Take that seatbelt off. It's uncomfortable. And if you got some beers in the back, pop one up. Okay. You know what? I'm going to stop the bit of even jokingly encouraging people to drink and drive. Listeners, don't do it. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you're driving and you've had anything to drink, pull over. Sleep it off. Zach, should we talk about Radiohead?
Yeah, I'm very much down.
Well, I'm gonna set you up a little bit here.
I'm very much down. Yes,
This is
of course
the first. Should I tell? Maybe I won't say. Well, I've probably hemmed and hawed too much to. We are now recording in the timeline when the podcast has started being released.
Yeah.
And we really, really appreciate everybody for listening to it.
Absolutely.
We have gotten a little bit of listener feedback in the form of a review on Apple Podcasts. Mm-hmm. Would you like to tell the listeners about this review? I thought we'd talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Whenever you launch something like this, each little bit of feedback is exciting. But, people downloading the podcast and reviewing it is definitely going to help broaden the scope of listeners. However, so when I jumped on to see, hey, we got a review, right away I was intrigued and a little excited by their screen name, Kid A Mesmerizing. So I thought, we're dealing with the Radiohead fan here. I actually don't have it pulled up. But,
okay, here, I can pull it.
But I'll hand it over to you to read it, but I'll just say it becomes alarming very quickly. And it's not that I would rather not have this review, but I would encourage listeners to just say, it's great to stack on top of this review.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is we're happy to have the review, but we would love to have additional reviews.
Yes.
So listeners, this is where you come in, is if you're enjoying the podcast, get on there and write us a review. Now, I will say that this listener rated us 5 stars.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we don't want to look gift horses in the mouth here. Okay, so the review title, it's actually Kid Amazing.
Oh, okay.
Is the reviewer. Now, I got to say, they spelled Kid A and then mazing is their own word, but they left the E in, even though they're
like corn maze?
Like corn maze and then ING.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I kind of... Maybe this is a real Radiohead fan, but I kind of feel like Radiohead fans have a stronger command of the English language than.
Well, hey, Radiohead are internationally famous. You never know.
That's true. Of language.
Yes,
I will say. Yes. Even though they speak the Queen's, that doesn't mean their listeners have to.
All right, let's hear what they had to say.
The title to this review is "Haven't listened yet, but," and I've read it like that because there's a lot of B's.
Well, what kind of a psycho goes around reviewing podcasts that they haven't listened to yet?
So this is the other thing I was going to say is I don't want to come down too hard on this listener, but they're not a listener, are they, Zach? No. They're a reviewer.
Hopefully we've converted them.
Sight unseen, they give us 5 stars, but also have notes.
I know.
So all caps, please. All caps, please, for the sweet love of all that is holy, please do all the research you can and find out everything you can about the conception, production, recording, and complete evaluation of the song Kid A.
Yeah, not the album, the song.
The song.
Kid A.
Interesting. Which, again, back to kind of thinking this person is worth their salt as a Radiohead fan, because even though it's the title track of that album, that is a deep cut to have be your favorite Radiohead song.
Very deep cut. I think we both found, our Kid A episode will have come out by now. We both found some interesting things to say, you in particular, about that song. But there's not a whole lot of lore or instrumentation, or I'm not trying to say it's a boring song, but a very interesting choice to be so curious about. From this listener or this reviewer.
Yeah, and also I don't remember our Kid A episode. I know we talked about the album in depth. I don't know if we to put it in their words found out everything we could about the conception, production, recording, and complete evaluation of the song Kid A.
I know Tom itched his ass on Tuesday when they were recording this.
Yeah. That's right. I think part of the conception was Ed was standing there. I think we talked more about Tree Fingers than we did the title track Kid A.
No, I mean, we basically pointed out that it sounds like Aphex Twin.
Yeah.
And we don't need to relitigate.
Yeah, go listen to the episode. And also to this reviewer, go listen to the
exactly.
episode.
Yes, absolutely.
You haven't even done your half of the bargain yet. So the review goes on. It's eerie, it's uplifting, it's melancholy, it's victorious, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then capitalized the the and he capitalized the words "the only." The only behind the scenes, in quotes, thing I know is a few years ago, think it was Ed O'Brien, said on the Radiohead blog around 2001 that this person sounds like they wrote this with a gun to their head. like it was like,
yes.
Like it was just like they were thinking about reviewing our podcast, a podcast they hadn't heard. They're like, before I listen to this thing, I got to review it.
Okay, note to self, don't hold gun to head when I'm making people review. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Exactly. Yeah, it sounds to me like they were like, oh, I'm going to get around to reviewing this new Radiohead podcast that's on the scene. Even though I haven't listened to it, I may or may not listen to it. I gotta get that off my to-do list. Then somebody broke into their house, said, I am going to kill you. But I'm not a monster. Do you have any unfinished business that you need to get around to before I pull the trigger? And they were like, oh, yeah, I want to review that Radiohead podcast that I haven't listened to. And then, some punctuation and sentence structure went out the window. Zach. So he says, the only behind the... I'm going to read this exactly how it's written. The only behind the scenes thing I know is a few years ago, think it was Ed O'Brien, said on the Radiohead blog around 2001 that they finished the song and felt great about it. Okay. That I believe Ed O'Brien said.
Yeah, what a story, Ed.
We felt great about it. But I want more. The only song I want to know what exactly they mean by every lyric. Shoot, they even named the whole album after it, and they never do that. Also, I'd go so far as to say it's the song of the millennium.
You don't think they named the song after the album?
Do they have any other title tracks? The Bends.
But just reviewer. I keep wanting to say listener. You really think that they named the album after that song? They don't name the song after the album?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, I think typically album names are chosen. Actually, I don't know. But
I think in most cases when you have a title track, the song probably came first. But in this case, because the song is so kind of like vague and cryptic, it would not surprise me if the album name came
and
first.
I should be a little easier on this person. I do happen to know that the album name was chosen prior to the song in this particular case.
Okay.
I do not know if that is the standard rule.
Well, look, you have a Radiohead podcast. They don't. It's not their job to know that.
Totally.
And that's why they're coming to us.
Yeah.
But I'm skeptical that they will have listened because they're reviewing before they listen. And also, if they were listening to our podcast, Zach, they would have listened to our episode about the Bends and known that Radiohead does not never name an album after a song.
Totally.
So, reviewer, you got to listen to the podcast. And then they close this gem out by saying, also, I'd go so far. So, also, there is a comma after also. So by the end of the review, they're kind of like calming down and they're able to include punctuation and,
accepting their death.
they're
also, it's been a good life.
They're in the A of Dabda at the end. That's what this is. We're watching the 5 stages of grief take place in this review. Also, I'd go so far as to say it's the song of the millennium. And now everybody does auto-tune. Please and thank you. Peace. Do you think we know this person and someone's fucking with us?
Oh my God. We have to. Because tonally, it strikes me very much as I don't want to be ageist here, but it strikes me very much as a 57-year-old who would have, their heyday would have been specific. It would have been chain letters through Yahoo Mail, something like that, and then it turns out that man was an angel or whatever those stupid, inspirational bullshit letters were.
It does very much have the energy of a grandparent who has Facebook and doesn't know that they can message you, so they write on your wall hey, what's been up,
grandma?
Yeah.
I love the way
it's a person who signs their text.
Yes. So at first I kind of felt like it had that energy, right? Because and this is interesting because as our first couple episodes have been released, the folks the audience it seems to reach has maybe been a bit broader in age than I expected, and not like I'm age checking listeners at all, but just but we, Radiohead certainly predate me. I was a young 7 or 8 year old when when the Bends came out, right? So their age range does go from 32 to 55. Probably its primary fanship is what I was trying to say and couldn't. So it's totally conceivable that somebody in that age range would write this review. But then to end it on peace, that is a very millennial, our age kind of thing to do.
Yes, but as you said, by the end they've accepted that they're about to be murdered. So maybe the peace is like, I am at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the peace is the person who killed them after they wrote this review. Wrote peace and then hit send.
So would-be listener, we appreciate it. We appreciate the effort.
Yeah, thank you for the engagement, but listen to the show, for God's sake.
Current listeners, we were so grateful, and it's been a lot of fun, and I don't know what else to say.
A lot of you have rated us, and I think have only received 5-star ratings, which is wonderful. There are 5 members of Radiohead. Are there 5 or 6?
5.
Okay. There are 5 members of Radiohead. This is a 5-star podcast, and we appreciate the consistency to our brand that you are staying on top of. But yeah, listeners, give us a review. Doesn't have to be this long. Definitely doesn't have to be this crazy. Can just be a couple sentences, and we would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's kind of all the business for the businessmen here. Zach, what the heck are we discussing today?
Today on the docket is Radiohead's 5th album, Amnesiac.
Can you believe we're 5 albums in? It's wild to me.
I mean, I was thinking about that as well. I believe we started recording these in January of this year. We are now September 2nd, so it's been a good long while. Packed a few non-album episodes in there. But I feel like spending this much time with the band is sort of, it's reminding me a little bit of like when I read my Stanley Kubrick biography, and I started to realize that the author, in order to write a biography on somebody that complicated and that obsessive and detailed, it breeds a certain type of personality to research somebody that was that meticulous. And I feel like because I've always loved Radiohead, as we've talked about, huge fans, always listening to them, but to listen to them as a project, basically nonstop, for now 8 months in a row with a purpose, I feel like I'm at the point where we need to make Amnesiac, or we need to talk about it. Like I am being a bit cheeky, but I feel like
mean we're like at our Amnesiac period of the podcast.
Yeah. Like, just...
Which means our Kid A episode was our Kid A.
Right.
That's where we like really redefined ourselves and defied expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just... That was maybe a little bit of a disconnected example, but like, you study something about people that are obsessive at their craft. I tend to be a bit that way as well. Listeners may or may not have noticed. And you really start to, I think, immerse yourself into the minds of the creators. And it's just an interesting feeling. And I think that that's sort of where I'm at with Radiohead at this point.
Very well said. I'm also just really, really appreciative of having this project basically mandate that I spend so much time with each Radiohead album as we discuss it. I have found this immersion into Amnesiac to be very, very rewarding. But Zach, I know that this is like if I'm not going to speculate as to if this is your favorite or not, but I know this is a very important Radiohead album to you.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
And I'd like to hear you speak on that if you would, and maybe share like what your personal history with Amnesiac is.
Yeah, I would love to.
So if you can remember, like the title. All right,
I get it.
You go ahead. But our listeners, based on this review, I'm not sure some of our listeners are going to get everything. We might be a little quick for some.
I mean, I think it's easy for folks though. Amnesiac is clearly derived from the word amnesia. Amnesiac is not a word that's in common vocabulary by any means. So, now that we got that business out of the way.
In today's PC world, I'm sure you have to say one who suffers from amnesia.
Differently abled for memory.
Yeah.
That probably is actually close. So to your question, my personal history and background is, I'd been told that Amnesiac more or less represented Radiohead's worst studio album to that point in their career. I'd also been told that Amnesiac songs, I keep saying told, I can't pinpoint the person, but this is just the vibe and energy I had around the album. That Amnesiac songs were basically like unfinished B-sides from Kid A recordings.
Okay. Can I interject a question?
Of course.
This is curious to me.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll get into it more deeply, and if you have specific research about this that you're going to present, we can put a pin in it. But was that the reception at the time?
Yeah. Well,
from people who, and also, is this a perception that people who were big fans of Kid A have, or is it more, I already don't like this direction that they're going in with Kid A, and Amnesiac, is taking us further.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. So Rolling Stone, one of the quotes that I can recall is, "Don't worry, it sounds nothing like Kid A," which is A, not true, and B, kind of goes to show, like we were talking about in our Kid A episode, how maybe not short-sighted, but how critics' sort of appraisal of the album has really evolved positively over time very quickly.
Okay.
But that was, we may as well just mention right off the top, Amnesiac was released May 30th, 2001. Kid A was released October 2nd, 2000. So that's about an 8-month span of time.
And I assume these were recorded at different times, separately, these albums. They were not recorded at the same time?
They were recorded at the same time.
Okay.
Yes,
See,
very great leading question.
Look knowledgeable.
They were recorded, this album, it's kind of hard to divide it up, but it was recorded January of 1999 to April 2000. And as we go through the songs, we'll get a little bit more of a chance to kind of discuss which songs commingled with song recordings on Kid A. I don't have that information on all of them, but on a couple we do.
Sure.
So there's reviews like that. Like I said, this could just be cultural osmosis. I don't have every single detail fine-tuned as to why I had that idea.
Okay.
But I do think, when you look at the dates of albums release, which is something I always like to do, and you see 2000, 2001, it does feel like it could be a B-side, right?
Sure, yeah.
So whatever the case, that is what my idea surrounding Amnesiac was. And although that's wholly inaccurate, these, I would say, false and low expectations really boosted my affection for the album, like immediately when I first started listening to it. And for me, the interesting thing about Amnesiac is that I know it is slightly inferior to Kid A, right? Or that's the usual kind of perception, is that it's good but inferior. But at times I enjoy listening to it start to finish more than I do Kid A.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that as of today I feel that way. We'll maybe cover that at the very end.
Sure.
But that has sort of overall always been my history. And it's a mystery I'd like to unravel over the course of this episode with you, Walker.
Yeah.
Want to interject something?
No, I mean, I think that in our discussion of this album, I was thinking about this on the way here, that I don't want to give this album short shrift in our discussion of it by constantly comparing it favorably or unfavorably to Kid A. Because the band is very emphatic about that this is its own album.
Yes.
And I think correctly so. I think I don't know if you mentioned yet, because I wasn't listening. No, I don't know if it's been mentioned explicitly that in addition to these being recorded at the same time, they did contemplate what became the separate albums of Kid A and Amnesiac being released as one double album.
Sure.
And I think they made the absolutely correct choice to make these into two albums. And I think while they do share a lot of similar DNA, I think the two albums have very distinct feels from each other. And there is a Venn diagram of tendencies and influences that they share, but they're leaning into kind of different things, I think, on each album.
I completely agree. And I agree as well, too, that it was a very wise choice to have them separated by, not doing a double album, because I think that the standouts of Kid A, maybe broadly speaking, tend to reach listeners a little bit more than some of the standouts on this album. Just as far as stuff you see them play live, how excited the audience gets, Radiohead fans, not a casual fan, but we'll usually cite Kid A. as maybe having some more standout tracks. But I think that the Amnesiac tracks would be buried in the background. If say it was just they had them sequenced the same and it was Kid A side 1, and then Amnesiac side 2. And I also think that you would lose some of the power and punch of the beauty of songs like motion picture soundtrack. I mean that we both really were moved for the millionth time we had heard it when we did our episode together.
Yeah.
I don't know that you get that same impact if it's a double album.
I agree.
That's one example among many.
I completely agree. I really, really think that that if this was released as one album, I think both would have suffered in their cultural endurance. That that this period, whether Amnesiac is your favorite or Kid A is your favorite, I think that it's inarguable that this period is considered by many to be Radiohead's creative peak. I'm not saying that I feel that way necessarily, but you know what I mean? Culturally and critically, this is as good as it ever got for the band, in terms of their appreciation by, all the smart, cool people who you want to appreciate you. I think that the initial...
Yes and no to that, actually, but
sure,
in large part, I agree, yeah.
Jump in.
Just that... there was just a lot of dog shit negative reviews. Overall, if you look at these albums, or Amnesiac specifically, it had like an 83 on Metacritic, which an 83 on Metacritic that'd be like getting a 92% on like a paper. It works in a weird scale. It's universal acclaim.
Sure.
But the reviews, Rolling Stone, we mentioned them, and I can't remember the other publications, but some of them that are major media outlets were also very negative on it. But I think, just like with Kid A, within a year's time, and I think in large part because of the touring associated with this album, it really rose in esteem. I'm not talking about Radiohead fans. I'm talking about yes.
Very relevant and duly noted. I'm trying to articulate something that is difficult to articulate, which is I'm trying to talk about the esteem that it is held in now. I think that it's like, this is, to put it in Kubrick terms, this period is kind of their 2001. And
absolutely,
listeners, I'm not just saying that because the album was released in the year 2001, although that is another parallel.
Right.
But I think that had they made the decision to release this as a double album, that initial confusion or distaste that some fans and critics had for the new sound would have been really compounded.
Yes, I agree.
And I do agree with you. I think that the standout moments on both albums would have been diminished by putting them all in one kind of giant, too dense package. Now, it's also kind of funny that we're talking about this so much because the band felt the same way and didn't make that decision.
It's absolutely relevant. In our Kid A episode in particular, I highlighted a book that I'm a huge fan of. And it's called This Isn't Happening, Radiohead in the 21st Century. And it's a book largely about Kid A, but you can't write a book about Kid A and not talk about Amnesiac, since, as Walker mentioned, and we've covered, the recordings did take place. And they didn't know how these songs would be split up and arranged arranged per album. You can't disentangle Amnesiac from Kid A. And what's interesting is that he wrote this book and it was released prior to Radiohead re-releasing Kid A and Amnesiac as Kid Amnesia. Hopefully listeners are following. I know that was a lot of redundant wording. But what he does is he said, well, what if they were a double album? And he does it, and he talks about what songs you'd have to cut. And he only cuts maybe one or two. And it's just interesting because, I think fans and critics alike, maybe not critics, but fans have done that for many years, because an 8-month span for a band that released Kid A, whether it was divisive or not, that is so bold of Radiohead to do, because, there was a lot of people that were confused, and vocally, or their fans were the most vocal, I think, too, that it was like, who's this new band? Within an 8-month span to double down on this new style of music, because as different as these albums may be in parts, they are decidedly Radiohead in a new era.
Yes.
Right. And I really think it's awesome that they, like you said, chose to separate them out and also said, oh, you liked Kid A? Well, here's something some might estimate even weirder and more staying in this zone, I guess, would be the way I would word it.
Very well said. And I think that, again, while they are separate albums, I think that there is a lot of intentionality into how these albums are juxtaposed against each other. I think that they are, I think these are siblings. These albums are not twins, but they are brothers. And I think that there is intentionally, they're kind of laid out the same. I think that we'll talk about it when we get into the track by track, but I think there are tracks on Amnesiac that are very much we're calling back to this thing we did on Kid A.
Companions, yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Very well put. I also think that sonically, these albums are the most similar out of any two Radiohead albums. Because
I would agree with that.
At the same time.
I would agree. Yeah, so that was my very next note. So we've really driven that point home. So Amnesiac was recorded in the same session as Kid A.
If you've listened to this podcast and you don't walk away knowing that, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably the person who left us that review.
Exactly. But I say that again because to me, one of the distinguishing factors is that I think Amnesiac sounds like a little bit more of maybe a group effort. Meaning all members of Radiohead getting a little bit more of standout moments. And that's more me hearkening back to how I've always felt up to this point. Listening to it as many times as I have, and Kid A as well, I don't really know where I would point that out now. But that was something I always felt, and I think other people hold that opinion as well.
I believe that I was doing a little bit of reading last night, and I believe that not the handsome man, but somebody who I will call the bald bloke, aka drummer Phil Selway, said something to that very effect. He said that that's the main difference that he hears when he listens to Amnesiac is he sees them more playing as a band.
Absolutely.
So I think that it sounds like that was kind of what they were setting out to do in terms of like what the album statement is of Amnesiac.
Yeah, I think what surprised me listening to Kid A leading up to that episode is how present and exciting the bass is. But I do think from a percussive standpoint, there is more standout moments from Phil on Amnesiac than on Kid A. So it makes sense to me that he would feel that way. But, ultimately, just to kind of like wrap up the background section on this, my love for Amnesiac is tied to a few things. So when I discovered it, which was the spring of 2009, listeners, if you're tracking, we started in 2008. Now we're up to spring of 2009. And it just has to do with, what was going on in my life. And I remember I was telling Walker about this off pod a little bit. I remember the book I was reading, my first listen through of Amnesiac. And the book was The Reader by Bernard Schlink. And that was just it's an interesting book. And it was a movie. It was nominated for Best Picture. Kate Winslet, I believe, was nominated. It's about an older woman having sex with a underage boy, and it turns out that she was a prison guard as a Nazi soldier, and so she ends up being put before a Jewish tribunal. And once the boy, who's now a grown man, he has to basically go testify that she was. They're trying to fit together like where she was at certain times to prove that it was in fact her. So it's a very, very serious adult book. In 2009, I was 19, almost 20. So. It was just one of those moments where I remember, for such dark, dreary content, for me to be reading, and then for such, I think, a dark, spacey, dreary, grown-up album.
That's what I was going to say. Grown-up music to go with these grown-up themes.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say Amnesiac has made more of a longer lasting impression than that book has, but it's just interesting. That's not something that makes it positive necessarily, but I was able to sort of put my mind, project my consciousness backwards, if you will, into my state of mind, not just in that moment of hearing it, but sort of like what I think to be what my worldview, or Weltanschauung, as the Germans say, back in that time. And I'm not saying that's 100% accurate. I'm not saying that, hey, this is a new trick I can do. I feel like I was able to do that, and it was really, really powerful. And, Amnesiac, I think, ranks so highly in the Radiohead discography for me because of the darkness of the lyrical content, like I was just saying. The continuation of what Kid A seemed to start for the band. We just talked about that. The full band sound, we already just talked about that. That's something that I think has always made it appeal to me. And in comparison, I was really excited to make, because this is a hotly debated issue between Walker and I, but I used to sort of equate my preference for Amnesiac to Kid A, to my preference for Casino to the movie Goodfellas. So I don't choose either of these works, Amnesiac or Casino, to be a contrarian, but I do think that both Casino and Amnesiac represent a moment for an artist or artists, creators, let's just say, staying in a specific style while not repeating what they had previously just made. So in the case of Goodfellas, that movie came out in 1990, Casino came out in 95, so really, really long period of time for Scorsese to make other movies, which he did. In the case, but it is basically in that lane of gangster shit or whatever, and I think it is a completely, totally different movie, which I really admire, even if you're not a fan of it. Like, I don't think that's really something that you could deny. And with Radiohead, it's so much more interesting to me, just because they're staying in this style, but they are not repeating, and that's what's so cool about this album, is that it is not. It's not Kid A Part 2. Mm-hmm. It's a continuation, like I was saying, and I think it plays around in some really different modes.
I only have little to add because of how well said I think that is, and I agree.
Well, thank you.
I agree so much. I mean, and I'll just say too, I'm not listeners, if I'm not disclosing, kind of very specific evocations of what was going on in my personal life at the time, it's only because, as covered in kind of our general Radiohead bona fides, this, for me, I don't have a super specific Amnesiac attachment to specific things, because it's just, In Rainbows came out, I already was a big fan of OK Computer, and then was so into In Rainbows that I just picture 2007 through 2010 just listening to Radiohead all the time, and specifically getting Kid A and Amnesiac for the first time and being really, really into them. So it's really wrapped up with the same stuff as Kid A was for me. But I think that is just so well said, because Radiohead really is pulling from the same toolbox, but making something completely different here. They go together so well. It doesn't sound weird to hear these songs on the deluxe edition together that they released, but you really, really hear separate statements when they are put onto their own records.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I think just like tonally, they're leaning more into the jazz influences that are present
100%.
on Kid A. But there's more of that, like you said, like live orchestration and more playing in that kind of.
Well, and do you remember at the end of National Anthem when you get the traffic jam? Mm-hmm. I don't hear as much of that kind of instrumentation from a jazz perspective on Amnesiac as I do on Kid A.
Yeah.
I don't, the song, the moments with the Owens Martineau, we're almost, I think, to starting the album now, but like, they're certainly there in certain tracks on Amnesiac. I would say maybe they're a little bit more front in the mix on Kid A. And I did cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I think I was running out of steam with that sentence, because I think that it's interesting that Phil. It's not interesting. It makes sense that Phil would say what he says, because I think his drumming in particular, there's more live drumming on this album.
Absolutely.
And he is playing very jazzy beats on this album. And I think that even the songs there's songs on this album that are very, very directly jazz influenced. We'll get to them when we talk. But even the ones that you're not like, oh, this is a jazz song, this is Radiohead doing a jazz song, they're playing these kind of like, you might be able to help me out here with what I'm trying to articulate. It's like deceptively tight. Like what they're playing is super tight and really well rehearsed and all really working together. But on a song like Knives Out, for example, it sounds very like loose and live, but there's no sloppiness at all. It's all very, very precise. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's kind of how good jazz is. I
Oh,
feel
100%.
like is it's like, oh, what are they doing? Is everyone just playing what they want? And no,
Right.
like it's all working together, but everybody is also all over the place.
That's why I think when people will casually say, you know, it's like jazz, whatever it is you're doing, it's like jazz is one of the most complex, researched, rehearsed types of musical improvisation. And not all jazz is improvised either, but that I think any musician can play. So when they say, hey, just be loose, it's all jazz, it's like, oh, that's the opposite of what playing jazz is. I'm sorry.
Right.
But, you know, I digress. I don't know if you would agree with that.
I do. I do think people misuse comparing things to jazz by just being like, oh, I'm just going to go out and do something poorly.
Right. And not give a shit because, hey, who cares?
Yeah, it's jazz.
Yeah. So I just want to read my final bullet point pertaining to my background with Amnesiac here. So emboldened, I have Kubrick, not Scorsese. I wrote, the way Amnesiac hits me is very similar to how A Clockwork Orange and Barry Lyndon hit me in Kubrick's catalog. Those films fit into a larger arc of an artist's career, and they might not be their best, end quote. But they represent a pivot that is essential to understanding and appreciating everything before and after. Now, listeners, you may have noticed in my tone that I was teasing myself a little bit there. But I just thought it was humorous because Walker brought up 2001. And, you know, the way I sort of understood your point was like, hey, 2001 was like just this substantial increase in quality. Shockingly, that individual was able to exceed that and continue on an upward trajectory. And I agree with that. I would just say that even down to like the coloration or whatever, you know, Amnesiac really reminds me of this sort of underappreciated period in an artist's career, and that, you know, every work is sort of seminal from a certain point on. And, you know, listeners, those that, you know me on a personal level or even listening to this podcast have probably noticed that Stanley Kubrick has come up maybe every episode. What has been so gratifying for me is that in researching for this podcast, all of the books I've mentioned, a paper I read just for this album alone, all mentioned Stanley Kubrick. So
wonderful.
It is not, I was just like, God damn it, Zach, you're just doing that thing of like, well, I love these two things, therefore they're the same. And maybe that's what I'm doing, but also other people are doing it too.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think the two things are the same in that they are both at the top of their class in terms of quality and invention and also in influence. So, you know what? Listeners, it's not surprising that the thing we chose to make a podcast about is the thing we think is the best. And if you disagree with us, well, that's fine. I was about to throw the gauntlet down and be like, if you disagree with us, leave us a review.
That's exactly, and stating as such.
Well, it sounds like we might be ready to get into the tracks.
Sure, unless you have anything. I mean, I know that you kind of interjected. It was a running together period when you were just getting into the band, but
yeah, I don't have any personal anecdotes that are jumping out to me. I just remember that I listened to this album a ton at the time when I just couldn't stop listening to Radiohead a ton. I think we'll maybe as we kind of get through it, we'll talk about more where it lies for each of us in the catalog. So the first track on Amnesiac is sorry, I'm going to take this again.
That's okay. Do you want to take it and then we could take a hail to the pee? I do have to pee.
Let's take 5.
Okay.
Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. Thanks for listening to